Well, that wraps up the trading day. A little bit slower of a day for me. We had two really nice stocks that were ripping, but they just weren't ripping as hard as I wanted to. So I was a little bit more cautious. Both of them were potentially overextended in the morning, and not just overextended, they're both near big resistance on the longer term chart. So I didn't really feel comfortable ever pulling the trigger, although, I called out a few entries I probably should have took, and, that could have landed 10, 15% profits today. But, the first one, we were up maybe 3, 4%, and that's as high as it went. That was a breakout trade. Then it pulled back. We closed it out for 1%. Then I had two more trades right afterwards we're going to review as well. One was a 3, 4% winner. And then the other one, another 3% loser, unfortunately. So I think today, I haven't done the calculation yet, but I think we're down today like $5, $10. Not really that bad. Days like today happen. I just was somehow not really on the right side of each one. I do want to talk about the afternoon trade specifically because you guys didn't see those on the live trades. It was near the last trade, and it was kind of painful because I was waiting for this thing to happen all day. A nice dip to like 317, and it happened. But before it happened, it decided to run to the upside, came back, so it broke past support, pulled back to that support level. I entered the trade. I was like, okay, so it's not going to pull back. We're going to have a nice little rally here potentially with it. And then it just kept on pulling back, and I was like, what? So I got out of that trade, took my small loss, and it bounced 5% off of where I originally had my limit order, which kind of made today a little painful because we could have been up pretty nicely today. That would have been two nice profits, small position sizes, but both of them added up would have been not that bad of a day. It definitely would have been probably around half of the profits we made yesterday. Yesterday was a really, really good day, but today, we're just gonna have to eat it. Let's go to the charts and let me show you guys the trades.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Okay, so here are the two trades we made with FLNT and FLNT. FLNT was on the top of our watch list. It was the third one I put on there. Decent, market cap, 170 million market cap, 41 million float. This thing definitely has the potential to really move. Now the market cap's already at 250 million because that big gap up it had. Quick little side note, this thing was gapping up 70% pre-market, and it was up because of new and improved guidance. So guidance is basically, we're going to have more sales. We're going to grow certain divisions. It's basically when the company makes an announcement saying that, they are positioned for further growth. Typically a upgrade in their guidance is really good for the stock price. So yeah, here we go. FLNT opens up with some serious selling volume, and at first I was a little disappointed. I was like, okay, well, we're not really getting that gap and go I was expecting, although it was up right off the bat about 60% or something like that. It pulled back a little bit from the highs of about 70%. But then, started making a little bit of moves, kind of found that bottom around $3. And it wasn't long after till we kind of had this first pullback, and this is when I should have got aggressive. Clearly big buyers here. We try to sell off. We had a nice little bounce to the upside. This move was pretty nice. You can see about 8% move. Let me just zoom in on the 5-minute chart as well a little bit so you guys can see what's going on. So we have a nice little pullback here, and instantly we move higher, right? It wasn't until, just a few more candles where some really nice buying volume came, had a good little 7% pop right here. And then right away, this thing just keeps on running, and we kind of missed this whole move. And here you can see it. We were kind of having some limit orders here below the 33.3 and below the 3.14. I was just constantly waiting for a pullback, but it never really happened. And then this thing, big resistance right here above. You can see it on the 5-minute a little bit better. Below the 3.6, long-term resistance. And let me just keep moving forward. This is where we had our first pullback. And then again, another bounce. I was not ready for this bounce to kind of happen. This whole move so far is already up 20%. So this is a pretty good move. And then boom, the next candle right away. Huge move. I mean, 13% in just 1-minute candles. And it keeps on moving. And this is when it starts finding some resistance. I think the 3.9 was the short-term high. So let me just keep on going. And now we start finding a little base here in this area. And this is when I think, okay, so we have some really nice base in here. We had one dip Now we're pulling back in this area. We try to crash multiple times, but it's just not happening. And this is when I got really interested and excited for my trade. And I entered on this attempt to break lower, and it just, it didn't happen. And boom, right away, the price starts moving up. I was pretty excited. I bought the breakout actually. So as the price started moving up, I forced an entry. There was some sellers sitting there, and I just bought into the sellers. Let me just go forward a little bit here. But then this happened, we kind of reached this area 3.75 where this was a former shoulder, and I usually like to get out on these shoulders. The reason I kind of kept it is because I thought that this thing had the potential to shoot past maybe 4, check out the daily chart over here, maybe approach this 4.7 area. I was a little bit more bullish after we saw this nice move. I thought, okay, maybe this is maybe a bit bigger of a pullback. And then we're going to have another really nice run, and we just didn't get it. Pulled back, kept pulling back, and then I was like, okay, I'm out of this one. So I was up 3-4%, and then I closed it for a small loss, which, is totally fine, but we closed it for a 1.11% loss. So really not bad at all. It just, again, I was looking for a bigger move, and we just didn't get it. So I don't really regret it because, I think this thing could have ran, but it just didn't happen this time. And so let's move forward a little bit, close the live stream. I'm kind of taking a break. I'm kind of chilling a little bit. I watched this whole red candle right here, and I really was thinking, I should probably get in. And yeah, I should have done it. 3.3 was kind of a short-term bottom. So let's just move forward again. And this whole time, this is where the trade really bothered me, because this whole time I had a limit order right here near the former breakout zone. So it was at 317, I think it was, is where I had my limit order. And we had an attempted break to the downside here. It just did not happen. And then we're moving up, and I'm like, okay, well, we're getting rejected now, and there's a good chance we're going to pull back. And, we try to pull back, but then boom, the stock starts moving up, starts getting some momentum. And that's when I entered. I was like, okay, we're getting some momentum here. Maybe this is going to start breaking to the upside. I removed my order at 317, and my new goal was to buy this breakout. And unfortunately, the breakout just did not happen. Well, the breakout was right here, 346, and I was, trying to buy that pullback, which I got. So the entry was quite nice. I was pretty happy with my entry. The only problem is we just really kept on pulling back. There was no really good bounce. I should have noticed that, yeah, we had nice volume here on the breakout, but the breakout wasn't very strong. I should have, not got aggressive until maybe the breakout really ran maybe to 3.7 and then pulled back to maybe 3.5 or something like that. That would have been a much better entry. Again, I kind of forced this trade, and I probably should have just not. And this is really the painful part. So guess what happened? Right afterwards, we get out, totally fine, small loss on this one. But guess where the price goes? It goes to 3.17, and it bounces almost exactly 5%. Not saying we would have got that perfect bottom or that perfect top, but we probably could have scored 3-4% on this trade pretty easily. And that's exactly what my plan was the whole time, which is really annoying. So
later that same evening,
the next thing I want to talk about is OGI. OGI was another one on our watch list. It was a 337 million market cap, 155 million float, much bigger than we typically want to be trading. It was gapping up though, pretty healthy, 35%. And they had a big run because their sales doubled. So again, good fundamental news. And these things typically, will start picking up momentum, and we'll have really nice days. And this is the one I probably should have just held a little bit longer. Out of the gate though, it pulled off quite strong. Let's see, about 8%, not really the biggest mover, but still. I should have, started, really paid attention to it when it started breaking up higher here. So it had a really nice bounce and then started really pulling up nicely. 6% move, but then we had this nice pullback, and I was like, okay, there's a really good chance that it's going to find some big support in this area. I got a perfect entry here at 2.78. I didn't really expect that it would run up all the way over here, but I took my profits pretty quickly. What was that? About 3.24% profit. So, not really the greatest trade, but the entry and exits were just around ideal for the short term. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in 5 minutes, we made 3.24%. So this was a pretty nice trade. Again, I really like this, and I was kind of thinking that, if we held this one longer, it could be a really good trade because we're over big support zone here on the long-term chart, and it definitely has a lot of upside ahead. So, in the next few days, this thing could really, really run. It just, percentage-wise, it wasn't really that interesting. Even a perfect trade, perfect entry and exit, right around here, all the way up here, would only give you 12%. I know 12% sounds good, but that's like perfect situation. With CETX, this thing, you don't even have to get anywhere close to a perfect trade. So this move right here from, where we had this channel, and I was definitely wrong about this channel. Ascending channels typically break to the downside, but this thing started, really building momentum. It held its highs. It tried to break to the downside, but it just didn't happen. And then, this move right here is 26%, a perfect entry and perfect exit. So if you don't get that perfect entry, perfect exit, that's totally fine because, let me just kind of center this properly. Let's say you identify that, okay, this is big support. It's not cracking to the downside, which we definitely should have identified. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to wait till it starts making some big moves here. And then you buy this breakout here at, let's say 2.3, right? And you're looking for your 20 cents and boom, you get that nice little pop to the upside. Right now, you're at 20 cents, you take your 10% profit and you move on. So these are exactly the moves we're looking for. It would have been really, really quick and clean. We just didn't do it. There's one more thing that I want to talk about before I wrap this video up, and that's why I did not enter CETX when I entered FLNT. And the reason is I was going through the financials on CETX and FLNT, and CETX had a lot of warrants out. So right down here, you can see this. Let me just increase the size a little bit. They had a lot of shares that were able to be executed. So basically new shares to sell into the market at about $2.3 and $2.76. These are exactly the areas we hit. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of those stocks were sold into the market. Now, this is share-based compensation, so it's not your typical dilution. And I probably should have paid a little bit more attention to that. There were some warrants in this company as well, but it looks like it didn't really affect it as much as I was kind of thinking. FLNT, FLNT, as I've been calling it, didn't really have any warrants, didn't have any exercise prices for any new dilution or something like that. So it made me a little bit more aggressive toward FLNT, and I guess in this case, technicals won, and I should have just done exactly what I kind of thought. Basically, look at the charts, identify, okay, this is a nice clear uptrend right here, try to buy one of these pullbacks, and I was trying to do that, and this thing ran 20%, and this could have been a really good trade. So after we didn't dip lower here, and we start moving to the upside, and we're over the EMA 15, this is a really bullish trend. We break up, consolidate, break up, consolidate, break out, consolidate, try to break out. This was a really good run, and I should have been trading this one. But again, my attention was on FLNT, mainly because the financials looked a little bit better. But again, I should have stuck to technicals, and I should have never been so aggressive when this breakout didn't really go as planned anyway. I mean, this never really came to fruition. Let me just kind of pull up all my trades here so you can see it. So not to mention, my original thesis on this was a pullback back to 317, and that's exactly what happened. So I should have just, stuck to my original plan and not kind of forced this trade just because it didn't break to the downside, which I feel like might be the bigger reason of why I entered this trade than the actual setup. So just a little bit something to consider. And yeah, I just did the calculations. We are down almost exactly $10 today. So not really the worst day, especially for the fact that we had 2 red trades and we had only 1 green trade, which definitely means our average win and our average loss are going in the right direction. Our win ratio got hurt a little bit today, but that's totally fine. Tomorrow, we got 3 new trades. The trades that we made on Tuesday are now going to be settled. So we're gonna have those 3 new trades ready to go for tomorrow. Looking forward to that, and I hope I will see you guys then for the live stream. If you guys have not already, don't forget to leave a like if you found value in this content. Consider subscribing if you're new, and I will see you then tomorrow. Till then, guys, stay safe and make some awesome trades. Ciao, ciao.